How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Before I Forget. This is my video channel inspired by my Instagram channel, 1985 Road Dog. Check out the Instagram if you haven't, and you'll find a lot of photos of my time in music as a fan and somebody that worked in the music business. This chapter, I'm going to talk about the group Starz. I just finished reading the book called They Just Seem a Little Weird. Which focuses on four bands, really: Starz, Aerosmith, Cheap Trick, and Kiss. Those four bands I grew up with and loved, and it was a really good book, well-researched, well-written. And one of the bands they talk about is Starz. Now, if you don't know Starz, you should, and you like hard rock and metal and glam and all that stuff, you need to get every Starz album, or at least stream them on Spotify or whatever. Starz came out of the whole Kiss era with the Aucoin management stable. So Bill Aucoin and his company Rocksteady managed Kiss, managed Starz. They managed, I think, Piper, Billy Squier's early band. I'm pretty sure it was a Rocksteady band. So a lot of these bands were being promoted alongside Kiss because Kiss was so huge. And, you know, growing up as a kid, every magazine you picked up in, 1976, 77, in there, you had ads, full-page ads in all the magazines, Cream and Circus. And there'd be ads every issue, full-page for Starz albums. And there was heavy promotion on Starz. If you don't know the story of Starz, like I said, you need to, read that book. They just seem a little weird. Starz kind of came out of the ashes of a band called Looking Glass, who had a hit in, I think it was 72, with Brandy, You're a Fine Girl. So the drummer and the bass player in that band ended up in Starz. Incredible band, Starz. Sweet Pain covered Subway Terror, or tried to, anyway. But that came about because I met Richie Ranno, the guitarist in Starz. I met him at a record store in Long Island called Slip Disc in Valley Stream. And I was just getting the Sweet Pain project together. And I just met Richie and was talking to him and hanging out. And I said, hey, I'd love to do a Starz cover, on this album. And he was really into it. He ended up producing that's one song, and he played guitar and he sang on it. He was involved a lot in the Sweet Pain version of Subway Terror. But, Michael Lee Smith, who is the singer in Starz, he's a guy can really sing. Great voice, great lyricist. I could never do what he did. So we chose Subway Terror because it was kind of punky and more Sweet Pain. Some of the other songs were too poppy, and I could never sing them or even attempt to sing them. So I met Richie that way, and then we just became friends. We started hanging out. I remember going over to his house in New Jersey with Kelly Nichols, and we went over there and we hung out with Richie all day and was swimming in his pool and hanging out, and we got to be buddies. He came down at one point, and one of the big Sweet Pain gigs. There wasn't a lot of Sweet Pain gigs, but one of the big ones was at Lemoore East. It was 2,000 people. It was a crazy night. Anyway, Richie Ranno came down and played Subway Terror with Sweet Pain on stage. It was a mess because we weren't a great band and no one rehearsed, and Richie's really good. And the timing was off, and just everything was a mess. I don't even know how we got through it, but we did it. Richie came down with his wife at the time, who didn't look very happy to be there. But I met Richie's wife, and when I would go out back and forth to his house in Jersey a lot in those days, 85, 86, in there. Richie's dad owned a big printing company. And he made all the Sweet Pain posters for us, and we used him as a printer. I got to know Richie, and through getting to know Richie, I heard all the Starz stories, all the Kiss stories. I heard all these stories from Richie because you got to remember, in in 80, no one had really covered a Starz song. There was one band, I can't remember the band. I think they were called Mayday. And they covered a Starz song called So Young, So Bad. Great song. But no one was really caring about Starz, knew who Starz were at that point. Mid-'80s and the Motley Rat days and all that stuff. A lot of those bands were influenced by Starz for sure. But, as far as the fans go, Starz were kind of like forgotten about, really. But I got to know Richie, and he told me lots of stories about those days. With Kiss, and, a lot of the stuff that he told me is now out in books. A lot of the stuff he told me is in this book. They just seem a little weird. But one thing he told me, which was funny, which didn't make it in that book, was I guess Starz at the time had toured with Judas Priest. They're doing some shows with Judas Priest in the mid 70s, late 70s, whatever it was. Probably, I don't know, 76, 77, in there. So Peter Swival, who's the bass player in Starz, was gay. He was also in Looking Glass. Him and the drummer, Joe X. Dubé, were in Looking Glass together. But anyway, the whole Aucoin stable of acts and the whole thing there was, Bill Aucoin was gay. His partner and lover, Sean Delaney, was gay. And he was the guy that was responsible for whipping Kiss into shape and teaching them choreography and getting their show together. Sean Delaney worked very closely with Starz. And Peter Swival and Sean Delaney, both gay, both hung out at the same type of, leather bars on the west side of Manhattan, in the meatpacking district back in the day. All these, if you've ever seen the movie Cruising with Al Pacino, that would give you a good idea of what it was like. But so Aucoin and Kiss and Starz, there's a lot of influence from gay culture. A lot of it from leather bars and macho, village people, motorcycle guy kind of stuff. And, I'm sure if you're a Kiss fan, you've heard all the stories about Kiss getting a lot of their early dog collars and stuff from gay leather shops. And, that scene was very butch and very hardcore. And so all these bands floated in and out of that scene. Rob Halford from Judas Priest has come out as being a gay man, and so that's out there. Peter Swival, the bass player in Starz, not as famous as Rob Halford, but Richie Ranno told me the story about one time Peter Swival was out with Rob Halford and hanging out somewhere in some crazy gay bar somewhere in America. And he came back and he was like, hey, we need to call it. Peter Swival was telling the rest of Starz, we need to call the rest of the band. We need to call our next album Hellbent for Leather. And they were like, get out of here. We're not calling our album that. What are you, crazy? You're just still, on a high from the leather bar you just left somewhere with Halford. Anyway, Judas Priest ends up calling their next album Hellbent for Leather. So there you go. So that's a good story that wasn't in that book. But Richie told me lots of stuff. Later on, it started becoming acknowledged that a lot of the 80s bands were influenced by Starz. Nikki Sixx, Wasp, Randy Piper, it was a thing where I remember, I don't know if Richie told me this, but Richie probably told me this, that, Nikki Sixx ripped off Subway Terror, one of the riffs of Subway Terror for Looks at Kill. You listen to Subway Terror and go listen to Looks at Kill, and you tell me what was lifted. But a lot of those bands, Nikki Sixx has come out and said, Starz were a big influence. They're a big influence in a lot of bands. Some of the greatest hard rock songs ever. Incredible songwriting, incredible lyrics, really clever. They just never made it big. They were always on the middle level, B level, C level opening. They opened for everybody. Aerosmith, You name it, the Starz opened for them. They didn't play a lot with Kiss because there was a little jealousy going on, I think, there. Although another thing that I was told by Richie, when Kiss were recording Destroyer, Peter Criss had a lot of problems with the drums on Detroit Rock City. And they brought in Joe X. Dubé, the drummer from Starz, to show Peter how to play the drums on that song. I don't think he was, I don't think he was recorded, but he went in to kind of tutor Peter Criss on this song because Joe Dubé was a different type of a drummer, a little bit more. I don't know how to describe the difference in two of those guys. Peter Criss is like a rock and roll drummer. Joe Dubé's got more chops. So he showed him how to do that. So he showed Peter Criss how to do the drums on and play the drums on Detroit Rock City. So, but they didn't open for Kiss. I think they opened for Kiss maybe twice, and they're on the same management. There was a lot of jealousy. I think Kiss, according to the book I just read, Kiss didn't want the manager, Bill Aucoin, to manage anyone else but Kiss. And he started building a roster of bands. Like I said, Starz, Piper. Just looking at a note here. The other thing was that with Starz, when back in the early 80s, Starz had broken up. I saw one of their last gigs that they played, or they actually reformed. They broke up and then they reformed, and they played the club Great Gildersleeves. And I think it was September 1980. They did the weekend, and it was sold out, and it was incredible. It was the original Starz. I think, Peter Swival was not playing bass. The bass player actually was Orville Davis, who played in a band called, he played like a country rock band. I can't remember the name of the band right now. The very last Starz album, they switched to guitarist and bassist. Brendan Harkin left, Bobby Massano came in on guitar, Peter Swival left, and then Orville Davis came in on the last Starz album. So it was the original Starz with Orville Davis on bass. And they played, they were great, man. They were so good. And then they broke up. After that, Richie Ranno started a band called Hardcore. It was Richie and Joe X. Dubé, the drummer of Starz, and a guy named Peter Scantz was playing bass and singing a lot. And they started gigging around the New York area. We used to go see Twisted Sister all the time, and Hardcore opened a lot of shows for Twisted Sister. We'd go see Twisted, and Hardcore would be the opening band. It was great. It was a great double bill. So, that kind of kept Richie going. And then he did the Hellcats after Starz. And Richie's always been playing and doing different things. Those first... The Starz put out 4 albums on Capitol Records. You need to have all 4 of them. But if you just want 2, I would get the first 2. The first Starz album and Violation. But that's my Starz appreciation. Again, this video was inspired by reading that book before. They just seem a little weird. Check that book out. Thank you so much for watching. Listen to Starz, man. In my top albums of all time. One of the greatest, Starz. Thanks for tuning in. 1985 Road Dog is the Instagram. Speak to you soon. Ciao.